Persevere side pressed the buzzer on the Sagisaka house's front door. Gates. Fuminori wasn't in class today. Is he home? He couldn't have sent those awful messages, could he? She doesn't even want to consider the possibility, so she forces the unwelcome thought from her mind. There's no response from the intercom. Yo doesn't know, of course, that Omi stood in the same spot 1 week ago, staring at the silent intercom with the same confusion that Yo's experiencing now. She, however, is not forced to wait as Omi was. Wait, maybe that's why she killed Omi. Maybe she thought, there can be no other woman in Fuminori's life. You must die! Even though you had no interest in, that at all. The phone in her pocket rings, catching her off guard. It's another text message from Omi's phone. Come in, the door is open. Yo looks around quickly, a shiver running through her as she realizes that she's being watched. Searching fearfully for her observer, Yo spots movement out of the corner of her eye. On the second floor of the Sagisaka house, a tightly drawn window curtain just fluttered. The person who sent the messages is inside the house. Only now does Yo realize that every other window has its storm shutter closed. No matter what happens inside, no one will ever know. This time she nearly gives in to the intense urge to flee. For the love of God, fight or flight means flight in this case. Run the fuck away and never come back. But the terror she feels towards her invisible watch is stronger and will not permit her to turn her back upon the open window. She doesn't know where to run. I mean, she does. Yo bursts into tears, unable to take a single step. The phone in her hand rings again, demanding that she enter. She steps through the gates and was never seen again. When she enters the house, an overwhelming stench assaults her nostrils. Run, you fool! It really is. It's so bloody cliche. I hate it. And in any horror scenario where a character just completely disregards all common sense, it's like, you dumbass. You're purposely written to be a complete dumbass because, there's no other way to get you killed off. If you were smart, you'd be like, yeah, fuck this. Maybe, get the police to look into it instead or something, rather than go in there on your own with nobody to back you up. And it's like, it's all kind of sealed off so nobody would even notice. Perhaps it's dark, even though it is in the middle of the day. Fuminori must be out, as his shoes are not in the vestibule, or whatever. However, Yo catches sight of a different pair stuffed behind the shoe cupboard. They look familiar, so she pulls them out of the shadows for a closer look. As soon as she recognizes them, her mind tries desperately to deny reality. They're identical to Omi's favorite shoes. Yo has seen her wearing them many times before, but that doesn't mean Omi's here, she tells herself. They might belong to someone else, someone who bought the same shoes from the same store. There's no way Omi could be here, is there? With a sudden flash of clarity, Yo presses the most frequently used speed dial button on the phone in her tightly clenched fist. Phone dials Omi's number. It takes only a second for the signal to reach the nearest relay station, and then a familiar ringtone echoes through the house. It's coming from the second floor. Of course it is. Someone must still be up there in the room with the moving curtains. Omi's phone rings for just a few moments, and then it stops, as whoever is holding it realizes Yo's intentions. For the first time, Yo feels the definite presence of her formless guise. She gathers her courage and calls out into the house, but there is no response. Whoever it is must not want to be seen. Swallowing hard, Yo walks down the hallway to the staircase. Maybe it's Omi, maybe it's Fuminori. Surely it's just the two of them playing a prank on her. Koji might even be here with them. Yo's mind fills with conflicting images of her friends. She needs to believe that there is still hope, otherwise she could not take another step. Can you imagine how much of a big switch in direction this would take? Just completely disregard everything that happens. Just Fuminori, Koji, and Omi just pop out boom, boom, boom. He's like, surprise! It's like, yeah, you should have seen the look on your face. You thought we were out in suspicion, and you're like, nah, we've just been planning this little prank this whole time.
オミちゃんだよね。 木坂くんだよね。
You gonna die as she climbs the stairs one at a time. Yo calls out in a voice choked with tears. When they see her sobbing, they'll probably laugh at her. Let them. It would be the happiest moment of her life. She just wants this torment to end. Well, it will, but it won't end well for you. She tries to move faster, but her trembling legs will not let her. With each agonizing second that passes, she begs for release from this nightmare. You know, come to think of it, it's even more stupid that I assume Saya is gonna try to kill Yo because she's jealous. She's like, you can't have Fuminori, he's mine, bitch! You know, that reminds me. Let me look at that comment again. Which one was it? I love how Saya completely fucks Fuminori by not disposing of any of the body parts evidence before leaving. And she's just gonna add another body count to that. She really is kind of making Fuminori's life more difficult with this, isn't she? I mean, she didn't kill Suzumi and his family, but, you know, her act pretty much led to them, you know, getting killed. So, you know, we're gonna have a body count right now, once Yo eventually kicks the bucket, of freaking 5 people. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Climbing for what seemed like eternity, Yo vanished off sound on the second floor hallway. No sound greets her. There's only the gloom brimming with silent malice.
Omi-chan. Omi-chan.
She shuffles forward, calling out in a weak voice. I mean, she just said, Omi-chan, Omi-chan. She didn't say, Omi, are you there? But I guess her way of, you know, going on like that is kind of questioning, so basically would be like, are you there? Shuffles forward, calling out in a weak voice.
出てきてよ。お願いだよ。こんなの、もう、やだよ。
The door in front of her is half open. It must lead to the room that overlooks the front gate. Yo watches helplessly from a corner of her mind as her body, seeming to move of its own volition, slowly opens the door. Wait, is this a different room? The room is empty. This isn't the bedroom that... Or maybe it is, because... I don't know. Because usually we see it from, you know, Fuminori's perspective. We've only seen it once from, you know, someone else's perspective. So maybe this is just closer to the bed, so it's the same room. Room's empty, the damp, stinking air clings to Yo's skin. She is at her limit, unable to take a single step more. Spirit has been utterly crushed. Perhaps this is the moment her tormentor was waiting for. Oh God! Wait, what? Tentacles. But that's not the problem. What's the problem is boobs! I didn't think there was gonna be boobs. I guess they weren't gonna censor that, so I'm gonna have to, you know, have the, you know, video kind of more focused on her face, because why the boobs? Why did you have the boobs out for this? Anyways, something grabs Yo's arms from behind, something flexible and strong, like slime-covered rubber. As the thing binds her limbs, finger-like appendages tear roughly through her blouse and force their way inside. So I guess that explains the boobs, but why? Yo screams at the top of her lungs, amazed that she still has the strength to do so. Responding to her distress, primal energy surges through her body as she flails wildly to free herself. There, the grip of the thing behind her remains unbreakable. Yo, it's very convenient that so far this text hasn't, you know, gone, you know, far down the screen to where the boobs are, so it makes things, well, actually, no. Because trouble is with shortcut that I use for editing these days, you know, it doesn't really have like a kind of proper way of like I wouldn't be able to get like the full top screen going if I had to like, you know, readjust it. Maybe I could, I'll try. But it feels like you can't have it go up or down, right or left. It goes like either up and to the right, up and to the left, down and to the right, down and the left, and so on and so forth. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to try to, you know, move the screen, essentially. With escape impossible, Yo can only scream louder as something cold and wet slips under her bra and wraps itself around her breast. Why? Why are you doing that, Saya? Her ears are filled with the sound of something slimy sliding over her skin. And the loathsome assault continues, the unimaginable terror threatens, and the text gets ever so closely to her boobs. The unimaginable terror threatens to drive Yo utterly mad. Her throat is already raw from screaming. Now she can't even breathe as she struggles desperately against her attacker. Suddenly the thing pulls away. Yo falls to the ground, unable to support herself on her unresponsive legs. The creature that grabbed her is still here, lurking in a dark corner of the room, and playing some metallic guitars. She can feel it watching her, but can't bring herself to turn around. She knows that seeing it will likely destroy the last vestige of her sanity. From close by comes the beep of buttons being pressed. Yo hears a cheerful electronic sound terribly out of place in this room and sees the phone in her hand blink coldly. A new text message has arrived. It's powerless to stop herself from reading the characters on the screen. You're pretty and your breasts are so big and soft. I bet they're good for attracting males. Now she has her answer, so that's why you groped her. What the fuck is your problem, Saya? The messages from Ogi's phone were sent by the thing that just mauled her breasts. Yo curls up into a tiny sobbing ball, unable to raise her voice or even move. Creature makes a burning sound. Yo somehow understands that he's laughing at her. What the fuck is wrong with you, Saya? You were a bit sympathetic till now. Well, I guess there was hints that she was a bit, you know, mischievous in a not so nice way when she was at the hospital. That must be how you tempted Fuminori. You tried to steal him from me, didn't you? Thief! I knew it! She's gone into yandere mode. Oh god. Something cold seizes Yo's ankles and travels slowly up her legs until it has covered her entire lower body. Is this gonna be appropriate for YouTube? Because this looks a bit suggestive. Some primal female instinct tells her exactly what is going to happen. She will be, oh god, powerless to resist a fate worse than death. She pleads feebly even though there's no hope that the inhumane creature will be merciful. What the fuck, man? We already had something like this happen to Saya. Now Saya's the one doing this. What the fuck is going on with this story? Jesus Christ, the story just gets darker and darker. She hears his bubbling laughter again. Saya, you've lost all your sympathy points by doing this. You can go to hell, you go to hell, you die! The thing is enjoying her sorrow, her despair. Yo no longer has the strength to resist the monster on top of her. She is only able to shiver in revulsion as the cold, slimy thing covers the body. Her sight grows dim as her mind sinks deeper and deeper into a black, swamp-like abyss. A weight pushes itself between the legs, but it seems so far away. And? Is there another case where I gotta press enter? Yeah. I won't kill you. But her mind is now barely functioning. Yo hears a voice whisper to her inside her head. It is a girl's voice, sweet and sinister, with the cruel innocence of a child gleefully plucking the wings from butterflies. And you could see it that way. So she isn't going to kill her then? At least not yet. Instead, I'll let you share in our happiness. Rejoice, Yo! We'll love you to death! The soft voice is stark contrast, the unyielding strength that drives irresistibly into Yo's core. Is she going to make Yo see the world the same way as Fuminori? The pain is sharp and savage, greater than anything she has ever felt before. Should be unbearable, but there's no longer enough left of Yo's mind to recognize it as pain. Oh. While she says blackly at the thing, slithering deeper and deeper into her body, an idle thought floats through her fading consciousness. I've still never been kissed, have I? Poor Yo. It has begun to snow by the time they pass Utsunomiya on the Tohaku Expressway.
下が雪道になってなきゃいいがな。
Koji says. In the passenger seat, Fuminori is gazing out of the frosted window in silence. He's been in this trance-like state for almost an hour now. Taking advantage of his inattention, Koji stares unabashedly at Fuminori from the corner of his eye. He still doesn't understand the danger signals that he's been getting from the man. Fuminori has stopped avoiding Koji. He's never looking him in the eye when he talks, so why does he seem even more distant now than he did when he was trying to push his friends away? Fuminori's posture is noticeably relaxed, but his gaze never wavers, not even for a moment. It's as though he is focused on a clearly defined future that he has chosen to bring about, one that has no place for the needs or wants of others. Right now, Fuminori is complete. Koji cannot help but feel that beneath his bland exterior is a core of solid steel that no one can touch.
近江だけどな。
Koji suddenly says suddenly, trying to gauge Fuminori's reaction.
いなくなって今日で1週間になる。まだ何の連絡もない。
そう。
Fuminori replies curtly, still staring into the distance.
心配だね。どうしたんだろう。
She tasted alright though. I mean, did I say something inappropriate? God damn. It's like, we've basically got a story that's basically from the antagonist's perspective. The antagonist is the protagonist. It's like, it feels like we should be rooting for Koji, if anything, at this point. Koji, save the day! I mean, on the Steam page there is like a CG of Dr. Tanbo holding a shotgun of some sort. It's like, I just envision best case scenario. Guns are blazing, let's put this shit, out of its misery, whatever. Fuminori, bam! Saya, bam! Story ends. It'd be like, oh, but that's so tragic. They were in love and... Yeah, but they were also basically killing people and were kind of, pretty okay with doing that. In fact, they seem to take a bit of joy and pleasure from it, so fuck them. Whenever it's completely emotionless, she might as well have asked him about the weather or the condition of the mountain roads near their destination.
もう一度聞くが、お前何か思い当たる節はないか？
いや、全然。
Fuminori answers in exactly the same tone that he used when Koji first questioned him following Omi's disappearance.
まるで気にかけてないみたいだな。
Koji's eyes narrow.
そんなことないさ。
You don't give a damn. All you care about is that eldritch abomination, your sire. Finally, Fuminori shows some emotion. He sounds hurt, like he can't believe Koji would think such a thing.
彼女、僕の家に来る途中でいなくなったんだろ？もちろん僕だって心配だよ。
I wonder at the same time. Now, he surely has to know that that was Omi that Sai was eating. He's gotta know by now. Sudden frustration wells up inside Koji. Possibly he'd like nothing more than to beat the secrets out of Fuminori's head. Yeah, beat the shit out of him. Koji is worried sick about Omi. To have his concern brushed off so coldly would be unbearable coming from a complete stranger, but from Fuminori, who's his best friend, it's... Fuminori never used to be this callous. Even if Koji tried to interrogate him, he'd probably never find out what changed him to, so... Well, what changed him was probably that surgery. And the car accident. but I feel like it was probably the surgery that did it. It's like, they always like pointing this out. It's like, you know, we used to be a decent human being for Mary, but throughout this whole story, we've never seen any of that. Closest we could is like, he treats Saya, you know, kindly. But, you know, he treats everyone else so bad in contrast that it kind of is completely negated and doesn't seem like that, probably. I don't know. If Fuminori were still just hiding inside the shell he'd erected around himself after the accident, Koji might have been able to get some answers out of him. With this sly, evasive Fuminori, however, there's nothing Koji can do. Fuminori will never reveal his true intentions, not to anyone. All that's left, then, is for Koji to discover the truth on his own.
近江はな、筑波のことでお前に話があったんだ。
Fuminori smiles bitterly at the mention of Scuba's name, perhaps feeling sympathy for her pain. To Koji, however, it seems like pity, the sort one directs to an ant or a woman.
筑波さんか。
A woman?
参ったね。
Worm.
まあ、あんなことがあった後だからさ、最近声がかけづらくて。
That sounded inappropriate, didn't it? The sword one directs at an ant or a woman. Read that wrong. It's because it... And then it was like, I freaking didn't realize that worm. Unbelievable. Fuminori's feelings for Yo were really this cold, and he would have rejected her when she first confessed to him, but he didn't. Or at least, Fuminori before the accident didn't. Once again, Koji can't help but wonder if this man who looks like his friend is really a different person who only possesses the memories of Sakisaka Fuminori. He's not the man he used to be. Snow has stopped falling when they get off the West Nasu Flats interchange. This area must already be getting a lot of snow, however, as the nearby mountains are covered in white beneath the trees. By the time they turn off the highway and enter the mountains, road conditions are already bad enough for Koji to regret having forgotten tire chains. You know what, I can't remember, I think there was a comment on this Let's Play, like comparing like the art style to the Higurashi novels, and you can definitely see it. It's kind of like, maybe this is like a photo that's been kind of like, backgrounds definitely feel like they're a photo that's been kind of edited to make it look more stylistic, I guess. Nevertheless, he continues to power his car up the precarious slopes with only a road map to guide him. A place like this, an address isn't enough to pinpoint a location, so only choice is to drive down every road, including private roads that aren't even on the map, while searching for something that matches the photograph.
本当にこんな場所に別荘なんてあるのか？
Someone who wants to get away from the world.
人目につかないところだからこそ、大貝教授は気に入ったはずなんだ。
The more he hears about Ogai, the less Koji wants to meet him. Fuminori is the one who spots the narrow road half hidden in the trees. It's practically an animal trail, overgrown with weeds that are tall and strong enough to withstand the weight of the snow.
これ、本当に道か？
Koji stops the car and sticks his head out of the window to stare into the dark forest, but he can't see where the path leads through the tightly packed trees.
写真だとどう見える？
Fuminori hands Koji the photo, which he compares to the mountain ridges visible beyond the
な
trees.
るほどな。アングルは間違いない。
行ってみよう。
Fuminori's tone is as flat as always, but there is a quiet intensity in his voice that leaves no room for argument. Though Koji is worried that his car's suspension won't be able to handle the terrain, there's no turning back now. He shifts into second gear and starts down the frozen road. I mean, what would Fuminori have done if, you know, Koji, when he asked Koji to give him a lift, just said, "Fuck you," and didn't give him a lift? What would he do then? He's like, "Ah, shit. Guess I'll have to rent a car or get a taxi or some shit." Sun sets early at high altitudes as the car creeps up the mountain path. Koji catches glimpses through the trees of the gradually darkening sky. Forest is completely still, with no sound save for the rumble of the car's engine and the crackles of snow and brush beneath its tires. Fuminori is once again staring silently through the front window. In the ominous silence, Koji feels the same faint chill that he felt when standing before Ogai's suburban home. It feels wrong, as though he is traveling deeper and deeper into a world not his own. For some time, a blocky shape suddenly appears amid the trees, standing out against the twilight sky. Koji turns off the engine and compares the structure in front of him to the picture in his hand. A perfect match. Before you can tell Fuminori, however, his friend's already out of the car.
Oi!
It's kind of nice style that they've got these CGs like this. It's like, you'd think it would just be like, no, they just go in the house. There's no CG of them standing outside getting ready to go in. I wasn't expecting like a CG like that. That's kind of nice. Realizing that it's pointless to call out to him, Koji shakes his head, grabs a flashlight from the glove compartment, and follows Fuminori across the snow-covered yard. Photo must not have been taken recently, as the old run-down cabin before them has clearly been left to the mercy of the elements for some time. Front door appears to be locked, but Fuminori kicks it down without a second thought. Koji just watches, knowing that nothing he could say now would matter. Well, you know, if you're planning on living there, potentially, Fuminori, kicking the door down was not a good idea, because you freeze death out there, man. You gotta fix that door. All the windows are shut with heavy curtains, and the gloom inside is thick and stifling. Fuminori turns on his own flashlight and starts rummaging through the cabin without regard for its owner's privacy. Koji is reluctant to do the same, but it's obvious that this manor retreat has been abandoned for a long time. Just like their house in Tokyo, there's no point in being considered now. He goes to search in a different room. Soon after entering the cabin, however, he realizes that their search is meaningless. There's nothing inside but the bare necessities of life. Some rooms are even completely empty, save for a thick layer of dust on the floor. Of what remain, have a few pieces of furniture present, more than half appear to have never been used. There's an empty chest of drawers without a single scratch or handprint, but bearing the telltale signs of mold and moisture damage. The conditions of the cabin is eerie, though in a different way than the filthiness of the house in the city. It's like someone put together a mock-up of a home and then left it to decay. The only signs that anyone lived here are found in the toilet, the bath, the kitchen, and the bedroom. It appears that the cabin was never used for anything but eating and sleeping. Beneath the darkened sky, the snow itself seems to glow with a cold white light. The scene is like something out of a fairy tale, but to Koji it serves only as an unpleasant reminder that has stepped outside of the reality that he knows. Next to the front porch is a plain wooden door half buried in the ground. It's locked, of course, but Koji sees no reason for restraint after what Fuminori did to the front door. The door offers surprisingly little resistance to Koji's heavy kick, breaking open to reveal a set of concrete stairs leading down into a pitch-black basement. Now we're getting somewhere. Koji would prefer to leave such a forbidding place to Fuminori, but it's not like he can just ask him to take his place. He descends into the chilly darkness, the beam of his flashlight leading the way. There turns out to be nothing in the basement but a storage room and a boiler, exactly what one would expect to find in an isolated mountain cabin. 2 patches of preserved food sitting on the shelves have long since passed their expiration dates, and the boiler doesn't appear to have been used in years. Koji guesses that Ogai's mountain home has been abandoned longer than the house in Tokyo. Was Fuminori simply mistaken when he said that Ogai might be here, or was he lying from the beginning? Not sure what to do next, Koji goes back up the stairs and walks around the outside of the cabin, and there he finds the backyard. It's in much worse condition than the front yard, having been mostly reclaimed by the forest. It must have been neglected even when the cabin was still in use. Remnants of a woodshed line the yard, the mushrooms growing on it, speaking to how much time has passed since its collapse. Next to rotten logs, however, stands a circle of stones that has not yet succumbed to the elements. A well. So it's going to turn into the Ring. It's like, oh no, actually, Saya was actually, the girl from the Ring this whole time. Instead of coming out of TVs and shit like that, She just became an eldritch abomination. The well is no bucket or pulley, and when Koji peers carefully into it, he sees that the water is no longer flowing. It's probably less than 10 meters deep, depending on how much mud is piled up inside. Koji's search of the cabin has revealed nothing of interest inside or out. Leaning against the edge of the well, Koji wonders why Ogai brought this remote home deep in the mountains and what he was doing here. It was obviously because something to do with Saya, but we don't quite know yet. As far as Koji can tell, there's no sign that more than one person ever stayed here.
人目につかないところだからこそ。
Fuminori's words play back in Koji's head. Could this have been some sort of sacred refuge, a place to remain hidden from the world? That'll explain why there's nothing to suggest that whoever lived here did anything more than eat and sleep. Koji's son remembers a doctor he met yesterday at T University. Maybe she knows something. Checks out his phone and calls up the number. There's barely a signal, but he managed to get through. Well, that's surprising. They're in a very remote area. Koji's hopes are soon dashed, of course. However, when his call goes straight to Dr. Tanbo's voicemail. Yeah, my Japanese is not that good. I could not understand a word she was saying. He considered calling back later, but realized that it would be hard to talk to her with Fuminori around. Fuminori would not at all be pleased to learn that Koji and Yo went to see his doctor. Koji decides that he'd better tell the doctor what he can while he's still alone.
どうも、殿浩二です。昨日はお世話になりました。
Koji leaves a clear and concise message, explaining that he went with Fuminori to Ogai's man retreat, giving the address and asking for confirmation that the property belongs to Ogai.
東京に戻ったら、またこちらから連絡します。では。
After hanging up, Koji thinks back to their visit to the hospital. Is Dr. Tanbo actually investigating like she said she would? Her reluctance to speak of Dr. Ogai is weighing on his mind. He talked to Yo about it on the way home, but they were unable to decide whether the doctor could really be trusted. Speaking of which, how is Yo doing? Koji hasn't seen her today. She's not doing so well. That was just horrible. I was just like, again, that there's a CG on Steam showing Dr. Tanbo with a gun. And like, I'm just picturing it as like, go save her, man. Go into there and be like, bam, bam, get out of here, you eldritch abomination. But that's probably not going to be how it plays. He didn't say a word to her about his trip to Ogai. She might be worried, especially so soon after Omi's disappearance. You think? I'm going to check up on her. Koji dials Yo's number, and is surprised when it rings louder than it usually does. Did she forget her phone somewhere? Just as he's about to give up, the call connects. First thing Koji hears is a strange sound. It's not signal interference, but some kind of wet, distorted noise, like the voiceless groans or perhaps sobs of someone far away. No, that's exactly what they are. The person on the other side is crying.
つくばなのか?
She didn't even say that, Janet. There's a response, but is it really Suguba's voice? It's too twisted with agony for Koji to tell. That's because she's in agony. Panic surges for Koji as he realizes something is terribly wrong.
浩二だ。殿浩二だよ。つくばなのか? 今どこなんだ?
For a short period of nothing but faint moans, words start coming through the speaker one by one, as though each takes an act of will. Oh.
何があった? おい、つくば、大丈夫か?
You must be delirious because Koji can't understand a thing she's saying. Her gasps and wheezes, however, are enough to tell him that she's in unimaginable pain. Oh! Holy shit! She's not making any sense. Koji feels despair seize his heart in an iron grip. What is happening to you now, 100 kilometers away? Only her voice gives any hint of what she's going through. There's nothing you can do for her.
助けて。殿。こんなの。こんな形の。私の。
What the hell did Saya do to her? She said that she wasn't gonna kill her. She's gonna make him one of them? But what is all this? Her body is rotting away. It sounds like she's either going through some kind of horrific transformation, which, yeah, might be possible, or she's, you know, being dissolved so that she can be eaten. But she said she wouldn't kill her, though. I don't think she can.
いや。こんな姿。一人。なれない。
Yo suddenly breaks into a violent hacking cough as though trying to expel something filling her throat. Koji screams in the phone, his reason overwhelmed by unimaginable horror. Which is why he's unable to react when the phone is suddenly knocked from his hand, and also why he didn't notice Fuminori sneaking up on him until it was too late. No. Fuminori seizes Koji's lower jaw with his right hand, cutting off Koji's angry shout. Koji can hardly believe the strength of the small man's grip. His biggest mistake was leaning back against the well. There's nothing to grab onto as Fuminori pushes him backward over the edge. He can only flail his arms vainly against the air. Seriously, Fuminori's a fucking monster. Honestly, I feel like a best ending scenario would have him dead. Because he's just gone down. He's gone too far. He needs to die. Koji soon loses his balance entirely. He feels a terrifying weightlessness as the world spins before his eyes. Before he can realize what has happened, his back strikes something with tremendous force. Fresh as wildly as cold, dirty water fills his mouth and freezes him to the core. Only when his fingers find the wall of the well is he able to regain his senses of direction and right himself. He's gonna steal his car as well, isn't he? On his hands and knees in the mud, Koji vomits filthy water out of his lungs. Tries to shout, but it comes out as a hoarse groan, distorted by the echo in the cramped space. Please tell me there's an ending of one of the other two endings where Fuminori gets killed. I hate him, I really do. Fuminori's laughter, on the other hand, is as clear as a bell.
電話中に邪魔して悪かったね。ほら、返す。
Says scornfully. I hate him. He is a terrible person. Fuminori tosses Koji's phone into the well. Koji catches it just before it hits him in the face. Finds that the battery pack has been removed, rendering it useless. What a piece of shit. This is no joke. It's a miracle that Koji is uninjured. He could easily have broken his neck. And just because he's not hurt doesn't mean that he's safe. Koji feels around the inside of the well, searching for something to hold on to, but the mud-covered stone offers no purchase. It's obvious that he won't be able to get out without help.
落ちた拍子に死んでれば、まだ苦しまずに済んだもん。コウジ、君って本当に運がないんだね。お前、おい、まさか。
Koji starts to say, but trails off as the pieces finally come together in his head. There's sudden changes in Fuminori's attitude. That smile that always seems malevolent. Fuminori hadn't been smiling at Koji, but at the thought of his friend's death. Could this actually be the real reason he came here? It wasn't just to look for clues, it was to also dispose. Ah yeah, that's probably what his idea was. Look for clues, and dispose of his friend, killing two birds with one stone. Fuminori is a monster. I don't fucking care about his relationship and love for Saya. They're both fucking monsters. Saya has shown that she is, not above being, cruel. Fuminori seems worse than Saya, so he can go fuck himself and hopefully get a shotgun, to the skull for his troubles. What a piece of shit. Can't wrap his head around this turn of events. Why would Fuminori try to kill him? True, Fuminori had wanted Koji to stay out of his business, but is that really a motive for murder?
別段今すぐ殺す必要なんてなかったんだけどね。もしかしたらお前は僕の邪魔をするようになるやつかもしれないし、せっかく人目につかないところまで出かけるんならついでにと思ってさ。
ついでにってお前そんな理由で俺を。
This CG is also on the Steam page as well.
お前死ぬのに理由が欲しいのか。
Fuminori replies coldly, sounds truly amazed that Koji would ask such a thing.
何様のつもりだコージ。人は何の理由もなく死ぬんだよ。僕の両親がそうだったし、僕も危うくそうなりかけた。
Now, I've already said this and I'll say it again. Fuminori, you're a monster. You're worse than Saya. You really should, you know. But I just know they probably won't kill off Fuminori. And that disappoints me to no ends.
むちゃくちゃだ。
そんなに理由が欲しいなら一人でじっくり考えない。そこでなら時間はたっぷりあるだろ。
Fuminori disappears from view, leaving Koji alone in the darkness with nothing to connect him to the outside world.
ふみのり、おい、ふみのり。
Koji shouts at the top of his lungs, knowing beyond a doubt that if Fuminori leaves, all hope of rescue will vanish with him. No one will ever hear him calling for help from the bottom of this mounting well.
つくばが大変なんだ。おい、ふみのり、聞いてくれ。ここから出してくれ。
In his desperation, Koji no longer comprehends the futility of begging for mercy. No god or devil will answer him. His only hope is that Fuminori will have a change of heart. Praying for a miracle, he keeps calling Fuminori's name. Eventually, the sky grows as dark as the bottom of the well. Koji can no longer make out the edges of the opening. He has long since lost track of how many hours he has been screaming. Well, don't keep screaming, man. You're gonna use up all your energy. Nevertheless, he continues to scream, for he knows that the despair silence brings will kill him. Try to climb out, man.